Today, we're going to talk about some of the best indie JRPGs. There are so many of them, and I'm aware that I might be missing some games. If I do, please let us know your favorites or perhaps underrated games in the comment section. In no particular order, let's go into the list. Exit Fate is a free RPG game that uses Suikoden 1 and 2 as its base style, including the sprites. Not only that, it also features music from various RPGs. Not only Suikoden, but also Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, and others. It may sound cheap and a bit controversial at first, but seriously, the game offers quite a depth of content both in gameplay and storyline. The storyline is surprisingly good, and the recruitment elements from Suikoden also add to the nostalgia. It's a nice RPG game that everyone can try. Alright, next on the list we have an action RPG. But this time we're playing in 2D side-scrolling gameplay. It's a nod to the golden age of JRPGs, but in Astlibra Revision, many of the elements are solid, especially the combat. It may look repetitive throughout the game, but I have never been so wrong. The gameplay is very satisfying, and with each chapter, they added new mechanics, so it never felt stale. It can be grindy at times, but it's well worth it. Lastly, it has an excellent story in JRPG trope, of course. WitchSpring R is a turn-based RPG with story-driven gameplay. I say story-driven not just because of the story, but because the combat and gameplay are relatively easy and quick, with minimal grinding needed. Despite its art style, the plot can be a little dark sometimes, with some generic but surprising twists. The game offers a deep sense of character progression, but as I mentioned earlier, the combat isn't very challenging. There are no random encounters, making it more enjoyable for story enthusiasts. You'll be surprised at how you'll binge on this game. Fell Seal is a tactical turn-based RPG, reminiscent of guess what? Yep, Final Fantasy Tactics. The game stands on its own feet rather than just being a FFT clone with its class system and battle system. The job system may be similar to FFT, but I think it's not a bad thing. The story is present, but it's a secondary aspect of the game. It's not bad, but kind of generic, enough to keep our attention so we keep playing. The art style may look lacking in identity or too basic, but apart from that, the game serves as a great tactical RPG. Dark Deity is a tactical RPG that is inspired by classics like Fire Emblem. The game is great in a lot of aspects such as combat, straightforward plot, charming characters, and the overall feels. However, despite the combat is good, it's not really a beginner-friendly. The difficulty is quite challenging and sometimes frustrating if you don't build your character properly. It also its biggest strength to fiddle with the build. If you're tactics enthusiasts and looking for challenge, the game is for you.
Weakness has consequences.
Demon Roots is an RPG Maker game, and you might be confused by the title. It has an adult tag on the game, and maybe you think it's an adult RPG erotica. Not at all, it's not focused on those aspects. Instead, what we get is an RPG with a strong story and characters. On the surface, the plot is quite simple and cliché, but it goes deeper than that. The downside of the game is a pretty simple battle system. Other than that, if you're looking for a story-focused game, this is one of the best. Sea of Stars is a pixel art turn-based RPG that definitely embodies the aesthetics of 90s JRPGs such as Chrono Trigger. The pixel art in this game is outstanding and very polished, making it a modernized version of old-school RPGs. The battle system has a timing system in the attack and blocking. It's quite repetitive and features simple progression, but it is still enough for the game. The story itself is quite slow burn, which may take a bit more time to grab your attention. Apart from that, Sea of Stars is a solid modern JRPG. Troubleshooter is a perfect game if you love tactical RPGs mixed with the best elements of XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics. The combat and character building are great, with loads of systems and progressions. The combinations of skills for each character are insane, making you want to respect your character points to try different ones. The story here is quite decent, although it's not always linear and had translation problems back then. Overall, SRPG fans may enjoy this game, and even XCOM fans as well. The next couple of games are from the same developer, and I consider them to be underrated RPGs. We have Ara Fell, a relatively simple JRPG. It still uses the battle system from the 2003 RPG Maker, which makes it nothing special but good enough. The story is also relatively well written, but quite simple, with common tropes such as an evil bad guy wanting to take over the world. Ara Fell is quite linear, and there's even a story mode difficulty. I'd say this is one of the more relaxing RPG games with a nice atmosphere. Rise of the Third Power is often compared to Ara Fell, but actually, they are quite different. Some may say Ara Fell is better, but I think this game improved a lot of aspects from Ara Fell. The improved character and battle system are some of the mechanics that are relatively better in this game. It doesn't reinvent the wheel in RPGs, but it is quite good enough. The story is also well written and may keep you engaged throughout the whole game, and the music is such a treat. Please check out this underrated RPG. Cassette Beasts is the most recent Pokemon-style game using cassettes to collect beasts. We can also fuse two monsters in this game. The game offers an open world to explore, an easy capture system, and overall solid gameplay. It's not just a Pokemon clone, it's more like inspired by it. The plot may be nothing groundbreaking, but is still quite decent. For anyone who loves Pokemon games and wants to reignite their interest in a similar genre, Cassette Beasts is a must-play.
3 legendary heroes as they meet over 100 allies.
Eiyuden Chronicles is an RPG heavily inspired by Suikoden, specifically Suikoden 1 and 2. It started as a Kickstarter project, and with the support of the fans, the game will be released in late April 2024. Yes, I made this video when the game wasn't released yet. It might be personal bias, but as a fan of Suikoden, I can't help it. It will feature the signature recruitment system from the Suikoden series. I do really hope it will have the best elements from the Suikoden series, such as the simple yet well-written lore and characters.
Vast battlefield. However, all heroes need a respite.
Epic Battle Fantasy V at its core is a traditional turn-based RPG with puzzle-based exploration and no random encounters. However, what makes the game fun is that it doesn't take itself seriously with its humor throughout the gameplay. By no means are the other RPG aspects neglected. The combat and encounters are challenging and quite enjoyable. The game is the type of RPG that can lift your mood because of how fun it is, although some jokes didn't hit me. Helens' Mysterious Castle is an RPG that is quite slept on by many, maybe because the fact it's made on RPG Maker. I feel more people should try the game as it has its own unique charm and strong points. The story is quite simple but enough to keep us going, but it's the combat system where the game stands out. You play alone in this game and there's no level up. You use the XP to upgrade the weapons, which are many and encourages us to try different playstyle. Try the game. I bet you'll enjoy the ride. After I finished another bigger RPG title, I tried False Skies because a lot of people praised the game. The game turns out to be great, despite my lack of interest at first due to its super old school graphics. The game features a strong class and party system, where you layer different unique classes. It has a surprising amount of depth that I didn't expect. The exploration and dungeons are well designed. If you're into old school RPGs, this is one of the best. Crystal Project is an open-world RPG with a focus on exploration in the vertical world. How you shape your story is based on your own exploration. Yup, it's a turn-based RPG with heavy emphasis on platforming. The mechanics of the gameplay are quite challenging at times with aspects such as classes, gear, and abilities, but they are very enjoyable. The story is also very minimal and definitely not the focus at all. However, the exploration elements in this game are what make it stand out. Omori isn't just your typical RPG, especially the mood it brings into the game. The music and art style looks fun and childish at times, but suddenly, it's 180-degree turns. Even the Steam page has warning that it delves into topics of depressions, anxiety, and suicide. It's a psychological horror pixel-based RPG with turn-based combat with great emphasis on the psychological aspects. There are multiple endings and all the plot path is amazing. I wouldn't spoil anything at all. If you're in the mood for something different, play this game. Symphony of War is a tactical RPG with heavy emphasis on squad-based gameplay where it's like a mix between Ogre Battle and Fire Emblem. Gotta say the writing is generic and sometimes lacking with annoying UI. But honestly, what makes the game very good is its core gameplay. The squad management is amazing, where you'll delve a lot on the micromanagement of the squads. There are classes, artifacts, equips that will affect how you play the battles. You'll spend a lot of time there, and it's quite addicting. Overall, a solid choice for SRPG lover. CrossCode is a fast-paced action RPG that uses 16-bit SNES-style graphics set in the distant future. The game has it all in one package: great combat and progression systems, exploration elements, and art direction that complements the world and gameplay. The story is also amazing with its futuristic setting encompassing both the lore and the characters in the game. The only caveat is there are puzzles in this game which may be frustrating and annoying for certain players who don't like that element. Chained Echoes is one of the most solid pixel art RPGs, where your party is trying to prevent an apocalypse while also stopping a civil war. Not only magic, but there will also be mechs in this game, making the setting itself a mix of modern fantasy. The core gameplay of the game is its overdrive system, which prevents you from just spamming one moveset all the time and requires balancing the abilities you use. There aren't random encounters, which is excellent for keeping the pacing of the amazing story. If you ask me for just a single RPG to play, I'll say Chained Echoes.